There we go. There was a bit of a delay. Hello, ladies, gents. Welcome to Friday. It's the 16th of October. It's the Gin and Tonic Show. We are here to talk about Islam, and we help Muslims and non-Muslims alike to understand and handle this ideology, this rather political ideology in the 21st century. What we do is we inspect, investigate, analyze, research, and then report and critique. And for that, we have the panel and we have the chat. Welcome to the panel consisting of you and me. Welcome, Rob.
Good evening, sir. Good evening to everybody listening. Hope everyone's well. And let's see what we've got in store tonight.
Yo. I suppose we're going to get joined by Thunder, maybe Mustafa, maybe even Smart Cat. We never know. This is what keeps us on our toes and always something new, never boring. Okay, Rain Man. We have a funny one. We have our Hamza Redbeard was confronted with 2 plus 2. He said, okay, is this Rain Man mathematics? So this was quite funny. I apologize. I'm sorry about that, but that was so funny. Okay, if you want to comment, question, or are simply curious about anything Islam, you've come to the right place. Even though we are often being accused of exactly that, we don't attack, which I think is aggressive, destructive, and antagonistic. And we don't attack with neither Islam nor Muslims. We ask questions, we show facts. We refute false claims and present the reality of Islam, mostly political Islam. And we focus on Islam exclusively. So I don't come here and say, yeah, but what about there and what about this and there and there? Yes, there are other ideologies which are bad. Yes, there are other people which do stupid things, but here we're focusing on one thing only. We embrace free speech and criticism. So if you want to come and say something, go ahead and do so. Factual and constructive criticism is always welcome. You can always join the panel, especially if you are a Muslim. Just tell us, and I'll just put the link in the chat, and then you can come join us. So we think we are decent human beings, and that is why we condemn categorically any abuse, oppression, misogyny, slavery, violence, and so on and so forth. And we try and let the Quran speak for itself. And what we do is we stream live to YouTube and Facebook. So anything that you say here can and will be used against you, of course. You can either contribute here in the written chat, which is during the live show. So you go to Facebook or you go to YouTube and you go to the Gin and Tonic Show. And then you can participate, you can ask questions, you can comment, you can critique, you can correct, whatever you want to. And you can talk to other people and ask questions or whatever. Don't go to Patreon, don't go to PayPal, it's for free. What we do is we show some crazy comments. We're going to skip the news today because we've got lots of other things. And then we're going to look at a Quran segment, which today is going to be the rest of chapter 7, all the way to the end. And then a discussion on the theme of the month, which is Dawah in action. So what we're going to do is we're going to show someone who is doing Dawah or giving Dawah or exercising Dawah, whatever you want to call this, which means that they are, well, what they call inviting people to Islam, what I call spreading nonsense. And then we're going to end with a discussion if anybody wants to have one on something, and then the Hadith of the week. So let's jump right in. And let us go to the Krazy Komments. So what I need to do is, oh, excellent, Smartcat is here, welcome. I popped it into you because you said last time you were not 100% sure if you could make it, so I just, just gave it to you just in case. So great stuff that you're here. Smartcat, I'm just going to quickly make this clear. Smartcat is indeed a Muslim. But it's not somebody that I would say is dogmatic or anything, but you can have a normal discussion with Smart Cat because he's a smart cat. So there you go. Very good to have you on the chat. Welcome, Smart Cat.
Thank you for the introduction. Hello, everybody. I'm happy to be able to join.
Excellent. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to go and let me just switch this off quickly and switch this off as well so that we can see this in its full glory. Oh, and oh shit. Well, we're speaking of this. Here's Thunderous who's joining us just as I said we're going to expect him shortly, and there he is. So I'm very happy to have everybody here. Brilliant stuff. So there's a full panel of 4 people. Wow, brilliant. Welcome, Thunder.
Hi guys, sorry I'm late. I was compiling and uploading videos on my channel with reference to Islam for a new series I'm doing called What Muslims Believe. So I do apologize, Robs. I do apologize, Tops, and I do apologize, SmartCat. Forgive me for a little bit of self-promotion here, but I'm on my channel now. I'm beginning to upload things. From my perspective, are what I call the official line. And they're from Muslim Scholars for Dollars, based in Saudi Arabia, and it's related to things that they believe. So hopefully educational for those who are Muslims as to what they believe, that they may not realize this is what they believe, and also for non-Muslims to view, take to work, and consult with your Muslim friends at work. Besides that, hello everybody, and I'm sorry I'm late.
Okay, no problem. And we have a funny situation that somebody has opened up a stream, also addressing Islam, but addressing atheists. So it's the other way around. So here it is non-Muslims addressing Islam, and there it's Muslims addressing non-Islam. And of course, there was no other slot available during the week except during the Gin and Tonic show. So of course this. So it's a pity that we can't go there. Maybe we'll finish early and then we'll all hop on there and tell them what we think of them. What I'm doing now is I'm going to the Krazy Komments. So in other words, these are things that we found Muslims say when they are commenting on a video or on a stream or on Facebook or whatever. And we're just highlighting this just to show people what kind of an approach people are taking. So this is quite telling. Question of the day to my Muslim brothers and sisters. Is someone allowed to enter the toilet with a phone where the Quran is installed? Please, I need a clear answer. Thanks. These are the kind of questions which Muslims ask. Is it really allowed to enter a toilet with a phone where the Quran is installed? I mean, don't they have more pressing questions and issues than this? And he actually gets answers. Like, as far as you don't open the application. So, yes, you don't have to leave your phone lying outside when you go to the toilet. So the Bolaji says, you can enter the toilet with a phone having Quran installed in it, in as much you don't open the application while in the toilet. Evidence for this is that we as Muslims have memorized the Quran by heart, but we don't read it inside the toilet. Oh, goodness gracious. I don't know the problems that people have. I don't understand it. But anyway.
But if you've got it on your phone and you've got it memorized in your heart, what exactly is the difference if you're going into the toilet?
Well, actually, now that you mention it, there is no difference whatsoever.
Exactly.
So as long as you don't mention it, it's still in your heart. And if you don't open the application, it's still on your phone. So there's no difference, really. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Can you explain the logic?
I mean, this is kind of like going into the realms of absurdity, not stupidity, but absurdity, because I don't know if they've done this in Saudi Arabia, for instance, but or any other Muslim country. But if you're living in a block of flats, do they then strategically put toilets where the toilet from the one floor is exactly the same location as the toilet on another floor, so that the toilet above is not urinating or defecating above somebody who's actually beneath him while he's reading the Quran and doing the prayer? Do you see where I'm coming from on this? This is
You're getting to a ridiculous level of detail.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Banksy, well, basically, yes. But we've got a tight schedule. So what we're trying to do is limit it to Muslims only if they want to contribute something. So don't be mad. That's why we have Smart Cat on here, who is already holding up the flag of Islam very high. So, okay. The next one is it's hard to take. Sorry, yes?
No, I was just gonna say, you're not. It's like an unspoken rule, like go into the washroom and do your business and get out. You're not supposed to be opening any application while you're sitting on the toilet. So I'm just coming from that.
I agree with you. Oh, man. Okay, this is from a discussion in Speaker's Corner, which we're going to do next week, where somebody is discussing something, but he's wearing a Santa Claus, I don't know, it's a hat or one of these funny caps that you put on, which I call a Father Christmas cap, rather. And this person is saying it's hard to take a grown man seriously when he's wearing this. Now, number one, I don't think it depends on what somebody is wearing, whether the arguments he's bringing forward are compelling or convincing or something. So I don't think it depends on the clothing. This was why it was so weird when, what's his face, Ali Dawah, when he was talking to Faye, and Faye is quite well endowed, and she had a low sort of décolleté, and he was doing his utmost not to look at the top of her boobs. So this was quite funny. Anyway, so the second thing is, especially when he's trying to talk philosophy. Now, it doesn't really matter what somebody's wearing. You can talk philosophy when you're on the nudist beach. It doesn't matter. So I don't know why this obsession with the clothing if somebody is talking, especially in Speaker's Corner. All right, then we have here, when you see Brother Mansour in thumbnail, it means you're going to learn something. Really? Is that? I don't think so. I've never learned anything from Mansour except sidestepping and throwing around red herrings, misrepresentations, and strawmen. And that's all. But Muslims, amazingly enough, a lot of them, are impressed by what he says, because he says it with confidence, even if it is wrong.
Yeah, we'll deal with him next week, I think.
Yeah. Then you have Islam. Hang on.
I'm not sure where Stop's got this one. Islam is the middle path. Don't go to the extreme way, Christians who don't ask, just believe. Don't go the extreme way, atheists who are super skeptical over everything. Go this way, Islam, reasoning, skeptic, questioning, logic, common sense. Don't go the way of the Christians who said God is a man, God has a son, God died. Don't go the way of the atheists who said there is no God. Go the way of Islam, one God, all-powerful, all-merciful, all-knowing. Well, yeah, obviously you could only go that way if there was good reasons and evidence, for which we find none, and in fact we find bad reasons and no evidence. So I'm afraid, hurry, we're not going to go that way. But why wouldn't you? Go on.
So on that point, when it talks about Christians, that's total lies, because Jesus himself said in Sermon on the Mount, keep on seeking, keep on knocking, keep on asking. Proverbs
Exactly.
chapter 2, verses 1 to 5 says, keep on searching and dig for it as for hidden treasure. The Apostle Paul several times says, be ready, or be made sure or firmly mounted as a man in the faith, or be ready to make a defense for your faith. 2 Timothy chapter 3 verse 16 talks about using the word of God. You can't do any of those things unless you actually have done the research to do it. So that is just a blatant lie playing on the ignorance of other Muslims.
The other point I want to make here is that they seem to think that an atheist who's super skeptic, there's something negative. And I maintain you can't be skeptical enough. So there is no way of being over skeptic or anything like that. Because whatever you can, you should question it. There's a lot of things that even I, as a skeptic, I accept, and that's cool. But you can't be too skeptical, in my eyes anyway. Maybe some other people think differently, but I don't see Islam going the middle path in any such way. Because This is exactly what you are not allowed to do. You are not allowed to question. You are not allowed to ask questions. This is what it says in the Quran, so it's quite funny.
Yeah, you just hit on the point I was actually going to raise this.
Oh, sorry.
That the Quran actually does say that, because I think it's around, I forget where around about the chapter 50 mark, where Allah allegedly says, "Do not ask questions that will cause you trouble."
Exactly.
Then there's the other situation. I don't think it pertains to that, but you can draw some kind of conclusion that that's what it's hinting at, where Muhammad said that when you've eaten your food, leave the house, because I think it's the point where Allah says he's not reticent and the Prophet is shy. Will you come just before the food, and when you've eaten the food, leave straight away? And it could well be that he wanted that to happen because basically people will sit around and asking him questions. I mean, if he was the Prophet, you would expect the people in his community would be wanting to sit with Muhammad asking questions. And I think questions was something that Muhammad clearly did not like. And I think there are several hadith situations where Muhammad hated questions, or he found them embarrassing or concerning, got him into trouble once or twice. Hence why this, if you like, this disposition of Muslims to not ask questions, because it's kind of like encouraged right from the get-go from Islam in the first place. This is what Islam is, it is truth, and you're pretty much fed the spiel that you need to understand as far as Islam is concerned. And most of what you learn about Islam, as far as Islam's truth is concerned, is predicated on other religions being false. It's not about Islam being true, question it, this is why it's true. It's predicated on these other religions are false. Conclusion, Islam must be true.
That's how it works. Okay, Dokesh says, it's sad. Many people jump on the "I'm an atheist, I believe in science, I must be among the most rational, smart, and religious people" bandwagon without actually thinking about it. All because, in my honest opinion, it's more fashionable to be an atheist. Really.
Everybody's entitled to their opinion, right?
Say that. Hey?
Yeah, everybody's entitled to their opinion. Now they just need to, present it with some supporting reasons.
I don't believe in science. Now what?
I just want to jump in. I'm enjoying my coffee right now, and I'm listening to you guys make your points. But I just wanted to chime in on this point right here, where he's talking about fashion trend. I think that's true in everything. Politics, music. There's trends in every circle and social circle. So that's like a double-edged sword. Everybody can use that against one another. So I don't think that's really very, very accurate or very nice to say.
Because I think if you believe that there's a God, if you believe that there's a heaven or hell waiting for you, then it is no longer a fashion. I mean, you're playing with your afterlife, you're playing with eternity, you're playing with, a hell of a like a decision. And I don't think that you can just change it according to the latest fashion. I don't think so. There's a huge consequence here.
No, I totally agree with you. And I think this individual, he's misunderstanding why people choose people choose or come to the conclusions of their certain beliefs and predispositions and et cetera, et cetera. So he's just chopping that up to fashion, but that just says more about him than the reality of the situation.
Okay, you're right. But look how many people agree with him or her or whatever. That for me is telling that 105 people go and click on this and say, yeah, exactly. That's I don't know.
I mean, the comments that you guys are bringing up to me, they kind of strike me as like, affirmations, like especially the last individual that come, they're just speaking affirmation, feel good statements, It's not really, it's not really any critical thinking or analysis or research on their part. It's just saying things that, somebody will come up to them and say, good boy, you're on our side. It's very political.
And that is why we call them crazy comments and not real comments that we're taking seriously. We're just, sort of bringing them up to show, listen, these are the kind of crazy things that people say. But I'm not putting any weight on this. I'm not saying that Muslims in general believe this. I'm not doing that. I'm just saying, look, this is quite funny. So that's basically it. So, mashallah, Brother Mansour. Sorry?
I said, no, I agree with you.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm not used to people saying that, so this is why I was surprised. Mashallah, brother Mansour, I totally get your line of thinking because you and me probably have a brain since we rely on testimony and evidences provided by authoritative sources. And the same, and I put a squiggle on it, logic can be applied to the authenticity of the Quran and the Prophet, eventually leading to the authenticity of the Creator, Allahu Akbar. Now, I
Did
put
you
the
see what
logic
he just
underneath it.
said? Did you hear what he just said? There's a
Yes,
contradiction in that.
yes. That's why I put the squiggle under logic. It's circular. I mean, there's so many things wrong with this, but
He
this is
says
why I
that
think it's so
he says that
funny.
he thinks freely, but he has to. Yeah, he says he thinks freely, but he has to turn to those authoritives. What are these authoritives? Basically, whatever they tell him to think.
That is exactly it. It's defined into being. It's defined as being logical, rational, and everything, but nothing else. There's nothing logical here. And that it leads to the authenticity. Oh, this is so funny. Okay. Atheists, where is your proof and evidence that atheism is accurate and correct? I don't know how many times I've seen this. I don't know. I think I've seen this hundreds of times. There is no proof, there is no evidence, and it's not accurate and it's not correct because it's simply not believing. If somebody says, I believe I was abducted by aliens and they conducted some sex experiments on me, and I'm saying, I don't believe it. How can I, where's my proof and evidence that this is accurate and correct? I'm just not believing it until I am provided with compelling evidence or a good reason. And that's it. But
Yeah, I
people,
think with that sort of thing, you've got to ask, what do you mean by proof and evidence? Because you could still provide reasons. So does proof mean a mathematical proof or some other proof? And this is, of course, what I asked a couple of weeks back, and I didn't get a straight answer, of course. But whenever somebody says that, what does that mean to you? What would you accept? Or what sort of things is proof? Is a good reason proof? Obviously, good is dependent on the person, because you have some background prior, so you're all going to have at least some level of subjectivity around what you consider good. But if something is a logical, deductive, demonstration of something, and you're a rational human being, then whether you like it or not, you should be forced to accept it. That is, of course, assuming you can think critically and rationally. So whenever somebody says that, then my question is, what would you accept? Because you I think all three of us feel like we could demonstrate, for example, the Quran couldn't have been from God, but a Muslim we'd have to talk to a Muslim and go, what would you accept if we showed you a contradiction, or if we showed you some error that was irrefutable? Would that suffice as proof or evidence? And in terms of atheism, obviously I'm slightly different from Stops, as in that I can give reasons why. So in my mind, I interpret proof or quote evidence to be reasons, because to show the evidence of something that doesn't exist, you could do it in a roundabout way. You could say, well, hey, this is what we expect of Allah doing X, Y, and Z. We see no evidence of that being the case, and in this case, absence of evidence is in fact evidence of absence. Because people always throw that term around. Oh, absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence, and in fact, it certainly can be. It's not always the case, but it certainly can be. Especially if there's an expectation that you should find it based on certain claims, and you don't, then that's evidence against the claim.
mashallah, brother Mansour, you took him to the cleaners. Everyone on the face of this earth should watch this video. I agree, but for very, very different reasons, I must admit.
Yeah, we'll get
Okay,
into
and
it
then
next week, and we'll sort of deconstruct what's actually going on there. Because sometimes, people who are speaking to the Muslims don't realize necessarily that there's a trap that they fall into. And there are answers that means that you don't have to go down the route of, doubting your own existence, because to the layperson that sounds absurd, but actually they don't understand the philosophical underpinnings of that. And everybody's in the same boat with regards to hard solipsism, i.e. that you can't prove your existence without using some logical fallacy. And so we all have to, presuppose it. But unless you've read up on that, even cursory as I have, then it'll sound absurd to think, oh well, maybe you don't exist. Well, only in a philosophical sense, at a very very low level of probability. But unless you can claim that you have infallibility, you wouldn't be able to demonstrate with certainty, i.e., such that you couldn't be wrong that you don't exist. But that's like to most people who have never heard of that, that just sounds absurd. But once you start to read it, you go, oh, actually, well, philosophically, that's the case. But the layperson, so we'll go through that next week and show what somebody can say rather than going down that route, unless you're speaking to people who are more philosophically literate. But if you're speaking to the lay people like Mansour and others, then they're going to it's going to sound to them as if it's absurd. So there's better ways to deal with that, unless you're speaking to somebody that's more knowledgeable on those topics.
Okay, let's take a look at the Quran. This one is going to be relatively quick. There's only one issue here. So we left this with a like a dog that pants, whether you pet him or scold him, he will not believe. Bad boy, bad soul. People that God guides are guided, and those who are not guided are not guided. They are the losers. And we've sent many jinn and humans to hell, deaf, dumb, and blind, worse than animals. This is where we left the Quran last week. This week we're continuing with chapter 7. What I do is I take sentences from the Quran and then make them as short as possible and leaving only the essence of the content so that we can get through this a lot quicker and we don't have to worry about individual words and things, interpretation of them. So 180 says Allah has the best names and those who disagree will be punished. Well, straightforward. We made some people with the truth. Now this for me is one of those sentences that totally disproves the existence of the Islamic God, and it kills Islam at the same time. Because number one, it's a merciful, all-powerful God who should be able to make all people with the truth, and because he's merciful, he should feel compelled to do so, so everybody should have the truth and should not have to be punished for something that is not the truth. And the second thing is, I don't understand why we are being told that we don't understand the message, only some people have the message, and therefore we are being sent messengers to tell us what the full message is. Why not everybody is being given this? So this also puts pay to the total concept of Islam, where this is a test. We are being tested. How can we be tested if only some people have been equipped with truth and the message? How can we be tested if we don't have the full knowledge set against which we can or might be tested? It doesn't exist. So this, in my eyes, is against the entire concept of the Quran, where we are being created to worship and put on this earth in order to be to worship and to be tested. And neither one of those things we can do if we are not equipped with the truth and the full message set. So this is a very, very dangerous sentence in the Quran. 182, those who deny our signs will be led from where they don't know. Now this sentence doesn't make sense, but that's what I deduce from the Quran. Now I don't know if somebody has access now at the moment to go to 7.182 and just show what it is that I am saying, to show that I'm not making this up. This is something that it actually says there, and it is exactly like this. It is highly confusing. It is not something that you can easily go and understand just by reading it once. So there you go. Thank you, Rob. But those who deny our signs, we will progressively lead them from where they do not know. What? So then Yusuf Ali already has a problem. He has to go and say, well, let me interpret this a little bit. Those who reject will gradually visit with punishment in ways they perceive not. But that's not what the Quran says. So if you add the corpus in there, you will see that the corpus, if you take it word by word, says something completely different. Those who denied our signs, we will gradually lead them from where not they know. That's what it says. Now, I don't know. Is it me who's being difficult, or can somebody tell me what this means?
Well, Smart Cat's here. Maybe he can interpret this.
Well, I don't want to embarrass him. I don't know, because this is quite a strange sentence.
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah, most definitely when you read it at first glance, it sounds difficult to understand, but I think this is just trying to indicate, those who you have to like break up the ayah into three parts to make sense of it. Those who deny, so those who deny, like who reject the signs or cover up the signs or deny the signs, we will
like
lead
me.
them. Yeah. Well,
So
I
I
wouldn't
deny
say,
the signs. How can I be led if I deny the signs? I cannot be led.
well, because there's a couple of concepts within Islam, like God leads those astray, and God leads those to rightness, or so it's affirming one concept, and it's also affirming the people that are not led, they don't know that they are not led. So it's to me it's just saying those who deny. It could be me. It doesn't necessarily have to mean
Okay, yeah.
atheists in particular, because if we look at the 6th century context of it, I don't know if this is a Meccan or Medina verse, but I think it's a Medina verse, and so within the context, those who deny the signs, we will lead them from where they not know, like whether they know it or not, they're going to be led astray because they deny. So
But do you think God
Smart.
would be able to say this in a little bit better way? An all-powerful God?
I think I think it's like because the context was lived by the companions and the Ansar and the opposition of Prophet Muhammad. I think when this revelation was revealed, they understood what it meant right away, because they were living within the context of what's
Yeah, but we
going
don't
on.
have those. We don't
We
have the luxury of this.
No, we don't. 100%. The best we could do is try to reconstruct it to make sense out of it. But for me, as for example, living in
Okay, yeah.
1,400 years, either I'm very like wise, or I'm experienced in life, or whatever you want to call it. If I read this and it makes sense to me, like it pops out in my eyes and it makes total sense to me, or it doesn't, depending on many factors, because I'm so far away removed from the 6th century, right? Or a Muslim would come and say you have to study basically his historical Islamic context to fully understand it and grasp it. But to me, it just says, I'll tell you what it just says to me. It says those who deny the signs will be led astray, and they don't know that they will be led astray. It's like somebody saying, it's like somebody smoking, right? You tell them, quit smoking, because you'll develop cancer, but they're like, smoking doesn't really hurt anybody, and because of smoking, they get bronchitis, and they can't run, and they can't participate in sports. Something in that spirit. This is how I perceive it.
But look how you're struggling. The Quran says it's fully explained. Everything is clear. Everything is easy to understand. And actually what we're seeing, no, it's not. This is the problem that I have. If I look at the big picture, I see the claims made in the Quran, and then I see reality, and I see two different things. This is my problem.
Smart,
But
quick
okay,
question for you. Oh,
yeah.
okay. Do you want to move on? Just a quick
No.
question for you, Smart. Do you think if God leads you, you can choose not to be led? Or is the leading such that you cannot not be led?
I see what you're trying to say. I think you can be led into paradise, or you can be led in Jahannam.
Yeah. What I'm saying though is, can you choose not to be led, or once God leads you, it's impossible for you not to be led?
like I said, like I said, you're either led in salvation or you're led in damnation. So irregardless how I feel about if God is leading me to either or if I'm saying I don't want to be led to either salvation or damnation, I reject God's guidance completely. I think I'm looking at it that whether the creation accepts the sovereignty and the power of God or not, these things are happening in the background, whether you accept it or not. So it's outside of the creation, in the sense that these are like the hidden, the unseen mechanics of, the salvation and damnation.
Okay. Yeah, and thinking clearly, this is exactly the point. What I'm trying to do is look at the big picture, look at the claims, and try and see this in conjunction with the other claims made in the Quran. Because I understand fully what Smartcat is doing, and this is correct. If you look at this sentence in this context, it might well be the case. But for me today, it's total gibberish. It doesn't make any kind of sense. Because either you can be led or you can't be led. If you can be led to heaven, that's cool. Can you be led to hell? Well, no, it's the merciful God. A merciful God would not do that. Yet, we are told in the Quran, yes, you can. So there's a lot of contradictions inside the Quran, the internal contradictions within the text if you look at the bigger picture. And this is, but I'm happy to see that it's not only me who's having a problem understanding the sentence, but there are different issues with this sentence, and there's a lot of possibilities that you could interpret them as. So that's anyway. 183. I'll give them time. My plan is firm. Okay. Don't they think their companion is not mad, just a warner? So this, I think, is supposed to be Muhammad, who is not mad. He's just a warner. Don't they look at heavens and earth and think about the end times? No. What will they believe? If Allah doesn't want to guide some... Did someone say something? No, I thought
I was just going to say, when it says, I'll give them time, maybe that kind of answers your question where it's like, what is this, a just God or an unjust God? I think maybe he gave you an answer right there. Well, I give everybody time, so I think that kind of answers one of your objections.
No, it doesn't. Because who created me?
God.
Exactly. Did he know in the beginning what was going to be with me, whether I was going to believe or not?
Well, we're going to say God is all-knowing.
Well, there you have it. So that's another internal contradiction.
Well, it's like
it's an internal contradiction. If I said I was God, if I said I knew everything, if I said I can tell you if you're astray or guided or whatever, if I was attributing these claims to myself, my person, my being, then it would. But it's different when it's the creator of the universe. Creator of the universe is beyond these things. Like I think we were talking about these the other day. I was like, just because God knows the outcome doesn't mean it's a kangaroo court, because in my understanding of theology, God is going to be the judge, the prosecutor, and your defense. He's going to defend you, and that's a whole bunch. I understand it sounds very contradictory. How can God be the prosecutor and your defense and the judge and the jury? But that's God in the afterlife, so.
Yeah, but look what it says on the screen. That's what I just read 2 minutes ago.
So just look at that, Smartcat, and again, it goes back to my question. If his plan is firm, can you deviate from God's firm plan?
Well, God's saying his plan is firm. So,
correct. So I'm asking from God's point of view, not from a human point of view. If God's plan is firm, can human beings from God's point of view deviate?
I don't think so. I don't think
okay, so what's cool. Okay, so what's the point of giving them respite? Yeah. Because if your plan is firm and they cannot deviate, then giving them respite is simply prolonging the inevitable from which they cannot escape anyway. How is that justice or mercy?
Well, wait, like you're saying that the reason God is not just because he doesn't give respite?
No, I'm saying, let me be clear. What I'm saying is his plan is firm such that you cannot deviate. And so giving respite is for what purpose? To prolong the torture? Because they cannot escape from this. So all you're doing is giving them more time in their disbelief or in the wrong path from which they cannot escape. Is that just or merciful?
It's merciful because there's an element of free will for us to choose and determine what we want to do in our lives. We can worship our desires, or we can worship the one true God. So in the sense that we're worshiping our desires, and God hasn't, punished mankind for it, this is the respite. This is the mercy that we would recognize in life.
If he has a firm plan, what does free will have to do with that? Can you freely choose to deviate from his plan?
Well, we're talking in multiple realities and multiplicities. Like there's a multiple realities in everything that we do, like picking up a coffee or eating eggs and ham, for example. It's God knows all the outcomes, but I don't. God knows all the possibilities. That's the sense of all-knowing. He has to know all the possibilities. Just because he knows all the possibilities is not an injustice to us.
In your scenario, his plan is firm that you're going to pick up the cup of coffee. Can you choose with your free will not to pick up the cup of coffee?
Yeah, I could choose in my free will that I don't pick up the cup of coffee.
Then his plan is not firm. Then you can deviate from his plan.
But he knows all realities. He knows all outcomes.
Okay, let's carry on. It's fine.
No. Am I misunderstanding something? All-knowing God. If he doesn't know that I'm about to pick up a coffee, he's not all-knowing. You understand?
Yeah, but then
it's a contradiction. There isn't a way out of this.
Coffee, then I cannot deviate.
Yeah, I mean, you can try all kinds of philosophical, mumbo jumbo to try and get out of it, but it's a straightforward contradiction, and it's baffling how it's not a priori obvious to be the case.
Because you can't deviate. If he knows everything, you can't deviate, can you?
Yeah, most definitely. Most definitely. He knows everything. Okay, all right. For me to here's the way I can deviate. If I tell myself that God doesn't know what I'm about to do next, that's the only way that I can deviate.
Correct.
First, I have
then
to
your
tell
God
myself,
doesn't know it.
Then he's not omniscient or omnipotent, right?
But I have to tell myself that. But what Muslims say, even if you tell yourself that, even if you tell yourself God doesn't know, right? If God doesn't know what you're about to do, he still knows what you're about to do. But let's just say, I say, God doesn't know what I'm going to do. I don't need his guidance. So this goes back to what the surah and the ayah is trying to explain earlier. I have to deny God. I have to deceive myself to say God doesn't know my plan for me to go against God's plan.
But he actually knows.
Well, from a Muslim's perspective, yeah, he actually knows. Maybe in your perspective, you can deceive God because he doesn't exist, or he's an inferior God. But in a Muslim's perspective, God is the omniscient and all-knowing and all-wise. So he has to know.
So why are we tested?
One quick thing. Okay, just so you know, when we're critiquing this, do you know what an internal critique is? Have you heard of that?
Are you speaking to me or Stops?
No, to you. Do you know what an internal...
Explain for me and the audience.
Sure. So an internal critique is when we take on the presuppositions and we go, okay, let's assume for a moment that your God exists and that the Quran is written, and let's see whether it makes sense from an actual Muslim perspective, in the sense that we can step into it metaphorically into your worldview and go, hang on, does this actually make sense? So this isn't an atheist critique. That a Muslim who is thinking critically, I would suggest, would be doing what we're doing. So in actual fact, we are hypothetical Muslims thinking critically and asking the questions in your worldview. If this was true and this verse was the case, how could this possibly make itself a reality? And all you have to grant here, all you have to accept, is that either God is omniscient or we don't have free will. Once you grant one of those, what happens from that onwards is incredibly problematic for you as a Muslim, which is why people try to, as I think you have to some degree, try to step away from the contradiction. But there is no stepping away unless you're going to try and invoke some sort of philosophical argument to try and make it not a contradiction. And if you're not going to do that, which, you know, I don't think is intellectually honest, but I could be mistaken, if somebody wants to, you know, attempt it, then you're stuck with one of those two positions. And all you have to grant is that it's from God's position. This does not concern human beings. We're now talking about the nature of God. And that's the part that either he's omniscient or he's not. And if he is, then free will is impossible. That's the only thing that you have to grant. So when he's leading us on his firm path, there is no escape. You are a robot on a string, you just don't know it.
100%. I just wanted to say, when I say free will, I don't mean an absolute free will. I'm more closely to determinism. You know, because I don't believe in absolute free will. To me, it doesn't make sense because there's so many factors.
Free will do you? What are you talking about?
Mean a limited will?
A non-free will.
No, you have a limited will.
When you say free will, I just want to make it clear so people can understand. I'm not talking about the free will where whatever I wish can come to existence, right? I'm just saying the limited free will that we all experience, that we have within our lives, that type of free will, not the philosophical.
No. No. Now you're meandering there, and it doesn't help.
We can have a long conversation on this. I guess let's move on, otherwise we won't get past these verses.
Yeah.
We can always talk about this again at some point. We have done many times, but we can always do it again at some point.
But so what? Just think about this. Go sit at home, spend half an hour, and take a piece of paper and write down, okay, free will, predeterminism, and look at my plan is firm. Look at you can be led or not led. Look at all the different possibilities here, and then we can talk about this. So this okay. 186. If Allah doesn't want to guide someone, they will wander blindly. Now, okay, this makes sense, all right? If He doesn't want to guide someone, then of course you are without guidance. This is the same sentence what we had before. Those who were not guided are not guided, and they are the losers. And here we're seeing this again. If Allah doesn't want to guide someone, they will wander blindly. But then, what is the intention? How can this then go hand in hand with being a merciful God? Because this means if somebody will wander blindly, they will not be righteous, they will not be Muslims, and they will wander off into hell for eternity. So Allah knowingly sends people to hell, which is a direct, again, an internal contradiction with the claim that this is an all-merciful, most merciful God. 187, when is the hour? Nobody knows, but be ready. And this is quite funny, the way that it's written is like, this will happen soon. This can happen at any moment. Okay, so this is like, I don't know if you know these sales channels when they tell you, okay, we've got a special offer for today, and if you react now, you can get it for half the price, but you need to call within the next 30 seconds, and it's 29 seconds, 28 seconds, putting pressure on you so that you feel compelled to call now immediately and take a decision immediately without thinking. And this is exactly what the Quran is doing here.
I don't know about that stuff. I think that's pretty cynical.
I agree with you.
No, but I think it's just reminding the reader that life is short.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. They're putting pressure.
So saying, don't
it's
be on
emotional
the fence.
pressure.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I think it's don't be on the fence. You know, because you don't know how long you have.
No, this is what I'm saying. This is putting emotional pressure on the reader. Get ready. It can happen at any moment. So take your decision now. Come and be a Muslim, because you never know when the last hour is going to come. It could be right now. So get ready for it and become a Muslim immediately. Sign here and say the Shahada.
Thank you. Thank you for saying emotional pressure and not emotional blackmail.
Okay, I'm being charitable. 188, I'm just a warner. This is Muhammad saying, I'm not nobody special. Don't worship me. I'm just the warner, right? And then it says, you and your mate, I think this is God now talking to people, you and your mate were made from a soul. Remember, there are 13 materials in the Quran from which people are made from.
Can I just, sorry, because you guys were talking, I didn't want to interfere, but there was a point I wanted to make between 184 and 188, and I'm surprised, to be honest, to a certain extent, that you actually missed it. Stops in 184,
Okay.
where it says, because there's something quite telling in that verse that is quite poignant for Muslims and non-Muslims alike. If I read it from the Yusuf Ali translation, it reads, if I may, do they not reflect their companion is not seized with madness, he is but a perspicuous warner. It's just kind of like one has to bear in mind the audience that Muhammad had at the time. What made Allah reveal this verse about Muhammad, that he was not seized with madness? So what was the opinion of the audience and the community of Muhammad at the time that made Allah have to reveal that Muhammad was not a madman?
Well,
Yeah,
that he was a madman, that he was coming up with the story of only one God, when
Or,
everybody knows there were 360.
but they also bear in mind that there are times when he was trying to commit suicide as well. So when we're looking at this narrative about Muhammad's life course, we don't know other things that were taking place for
Okay.
that adds to the narrative as to why there has to be a verse in the Quran. Now, nobody would say somebody's mad because he's coming with one God, because with the greatest respect to people who understand religion, all religions at some point or another in their lineage point to one God. There isn't a religion that doesn't point to one ultimate deity. All of them point to one. So coming with one God is not new territory. It's not a new belief system. This madness is related to something else more than just the message that he's bringing. It's related to him personally. That's why that's why there's this reassurance. You are not seized with madness, because it doesn't happen one time, stop, so does it? This is a repeated pattern that happens many times. How many people are aware that Muhammad has already tried to commit suicide? They must already know he thought he was going mad when he got his first revelation, and he wanted to commit suicide then. Khadija knew about it, remember? So this is a man in his community that already, well, some were probably thinking, this guy's a nutter. Hence why this verse has to be revealed. And then what you notice as well is that a couple of points later in verse 88 says, I am just a warner. Well, for starters, when you look at his life course, this guy is no warner, is he? He's getting all the privileges that are up and beyond any of the alleged prophet that he's supposed to be in line with. But let's just, for the sake of this discussion, every other religious prophet in the past, okay, he's got more privileges than the law that he's given to the people, like the Sharia law that he's supposed to be given to the people. And also Allah says, behoves anyone to sort of like to challenge the authority of Allah and his messenger. Now that seems to be more than just a warner. So in this instance, I'm of the opinion the audience think he's going mad. He has to reassure them that he's not going mad, or that he's not a madman, and then to kind of like soften him a little bit more, he's just basically saying, yeah, but I'm just a warner, come on, I'm just a warner. There's something.
Okay, it's a possibility. Yeah, it's a possibility. Yeah. I mean, I personally don't agree, because I don't believe that there is any correlation between the Quran and Muhammad. He was added as an afterthought. So
I agree with that stuff. I agree with you on that. Whenever I listen to an argument about whether Muhammad existed, I go with it. Then when I hear the counter argument a week later that he never existed, I go with it. I can't decide sometimes. I've said this before. If I'm in the mood of I believe in Muhammad, then I hear a story that he doesn't, I go with it. And then when I'm convinced he doesn't exist, and I hear that he does, it's like, oh shit, he must have done. Do you see what I mean? There you go.
Okay.
Maybe it's in my genes, because I'm part Arab and stuff. Maybe I'm just as bad as he is.
Okay, no, that's cool. All right, you and your mate made from a soul. Remember, there are 13 materials that human beings are made from water, from mud, from dust, from all sorts of things, and one of them is soul. So you and your mate were made from a soul, And if you give us a righteous child, we'll be grateful. This is what people say to this God. Now, a righteous child, remember the story we had with Moses and Al-Qidr, where Moses was looking at Al-Qidr, the green one, in amazement how he killed a boy because he wasn't righteous enough, that in future he was going to be a lot of he was going to be difficult for his parents because he wasn't going to be righteous enough, not pious enough. And so this is why Al-Qidr killed him. And this is a reference to this as well, that they want a righteous child. And if it's not a righteous child, then don't give me a child. And then, of course, you and your mate were made from the soul. This is a very, very strange, idea that you first make a soul, and then you make a man from this soul, and then a woman from the same soul, like an offspring from between the two. It's quite funny. But when he does give them a righteous child, well, then they turn away and they have other gods. So I think the people at the time were well aware that there were other gods to choose from, and they were more compelling to the people for some odd reason. And this is why they said, yeah, as soon as we do that, then they have other gods. So those who don't create and are created, is this what you believe? Those who can't help others, they can't even help themselves. So this is now this Islamic God trash talking other gods. And then 193, I don't know what this is. They will not obey. I don't know if this is still talking about the gods who will not obey, or if this is now the people who will not obey. It's not clear. It just says they will not obey. I don't know who's being talked to here. They are servants, so call them if you are truthful. This is another gibberish sentence. It makes absolutely no sense. So I spent half an hour looking it up. So it seems that this refers to being truthful, believing they are gods, the other ones are gods. So you should call them and call them out to if you are truthful, then challenge them. Okay, so if you think these are really God, well, then ask them and see if they can do this. Okay, then this is another taunt. Can they walk? Can they touch? Can they hold? Can they see or hear? Well, have them challenge me. I don't know how that is going to work, but that's what it says in the Quran. And my protector is Allah, who protects the righteous, and He wrote the book. And those who can't help others know themselves. So this is the same sentence again, that they can't even help themselves. They can't hear or see. This is a repetition again, just to rub it in. Be forgiving, take what is right, and ignore the ignorant. Now, this is one of the key sentences, okay? This is something that a lot of Muslims use when talking with safars and that. Take what is right and ignore these stupid atheists. They don't know what they're talking about. Just ignore them. You hear this a lot in conversations.
Well, that's not fair, Stops, because I don't think this verse was revealed to the atheists. I'm just saying.
No, it's not. It's being used. I'm saying it's being used by Muslim apologists to tell the atheists, look, we're going to ignore you. We're going to take what is right, which is our belief, and we are ignoring you because you are ignorant. You don't know what you're talking about. So it's being used by some Muslim apologists to tell the atheists that they are ignorant and we're going to ignore you. That's all. And 200, if you get an evil suggestion from the devil, run to Allah, and He will comfort you, and He will, fill up your iman, and then you're okay again. And if you fear when an evil suggestion comes, remember Allah. Remember there's an Allah, run to Him, and you will be comforted. And your brothers will relentlessly tempt you. Why didn't you stop us? And he says, and this is again to Muhammad. Now, Muhammad is being asked, why didn't you stop us? I mean, we are being tempted, and we have all these evil suggestions from the devil. Why didn't you stop us? And Muhammad says, look, all I've got is just the Quran. I don't have magical powers. I'm just the warner. I just have the Quran. And when it's recited, listen up. Pay attention. And now this is quite amazing. Quietly remember your Lord in the morning and the evening. I don't know what that means. I'm just fascinated with the word quietly. If it means that you should pray in the morning and the evening, which you very well could, and this is how most of the tafsirs go, then you should do it quietly. So how come you have the call for prayer, Muslims shout a lot, and you have the imam standing in front, saying everything very loudly? Why don't they do it quietly? As is commanded in the Quran. It says, quietly remember your Lord. Now, remember, I agree, it refers to prayer in the morning and the evening. It doesn't mention 5 prayers, it only mentions 3 prayers. Here it's only 2 that are mentioned. Worship, praise, prostrate. And that is the end of chapter 7. Any comments, questions?
Let's see what chapter 8 brings us. Huh?
Oh my God, this is quite amazing. Okay, but chapter 7 was a bit of a roller coaster ride, I think. You know, it went from total idiocy to like nice things to ridiculous things to internal, external, all sorts of contradictions, and then it went well again, and when it went to the Jews, and then it went back again. So there's a whole lot of things in chapter 7. I mean, it was quite an amazing chapter, I think. All right. So we've done the Krazy Komments. We skipped the news. We've done the Quran, and now it's time to go into the theme of the month, which is looking at what Dawah people are doing. Now I'm going to shut up so you can talk and discuss amongst yourselves what you think of this video. The rules are, as always, if you're in the chat, do one enter, catch my attention so that I will stop, and then you can ask your question or comment or whatever. And here on the panel, you just scream and say stop, and then I will do so. Here we go.
Assalamu alaikum, friends.
Can you hear the sound?
Yeah.
Today's video is about a topic that Ridwan seems extremely confident about.
Just stop it
This
for
guy-
a moment. Stops for those people who are not aware.
I was just
This
gonna
guy
do that.
Farid sort of made his channel by critiquing Apostate Prophet. That's the only reason he's got any subscribers. And it's the same. Some other guys critiquing Abdullah Samir, and one is doing Harris Sultan and so on. So this is how sort of no-name Muslims have sort of found a way to get, a small level of prominence, is to critique the more well-known ex-Muslims.
And the other thing is, this Farid guy is, okay, 2 bits of information which I'm going to share with you. One is that he's not so jacked up. He doesn't know too much about Islam, but he thinks that he is God's gift to mankind. He's extremely arrogant, but he doesn't really know what he's doing. The second thing is, he is actually the reason why we have the earthquake in Islam at the moment, which is really shaking the whole foundation. Because he is the one who went and released the documents on what Yasser Qadi said on the holes in the narrative of the Quran. And he gave it to Imran, the Dawah man, and then he released it to the public. They were trying, because they are silly little children, okay? They were trying to get Yasser Qadi to be clear and no, of course it's preserved, but you can't beat reality. You can't. And this is what Yasser Qadi says, look, there are holes in the narrative and you cannot explain them. There is no way that any Muslim can explain. There is no adequate explanation. This is what he calls it. And Farid was too stupid to realize that, and he released it trying to push the issue and therefore causing a huge earthquake in the foundation of Islam.
His aura, which usually reeks of cheddar cheese, was swapped with a confidence. A glimmer in his eyes was like one that could be observed in the deranged face of an excited Alex Jones before storming out of the studio. Confidence. Today's video is about Ridwan's understanding of a particular verse that describes the Jews as those that believe that Ezra is the son of God.
Does everybody know this? Chapter 9, sentence 30.
I'm
Jews say
familiar with
Ezra
it.
is the son of Allah. The Christians say Messiah is son of Allah. This is their statement from their mouths. They imitate the saying of those who disbelieved. May Allah destroy them. How are they deluded? Now, the problem here is the repetition. Ezra, son of Allah, Jews. Messiah, son of Allah, Christians. And this obviously leads to a huge mistake, because you can't wiggle yourself out of this and say, well, the one is metaphorical or allegorical, the other one is not. So you can't mix this up. So this is a fact knowledge statement in the Quran.
Ridvan's objection is that the Jews did not believe that Ezra is the son of God, and thus the Quran made a mistake.
As said, we have no credible evidence at all to prove that any Jewish tribe ever held such a belief that Ezra was the son of God.
Actually, this view was held by Arabian Jews like Salam bin Mishkam, Nu'man bin Awfa, Sha's bin Qais, and Malik.
There. When he says Arabian Jews, there's no evidence of that actually taking place. And even if there was some Arabian Jews that did believe that, by the 7th century or the 6th century, or even by the 3rd century really onwards, they'd become more what's known as Talmud following Jews, not Torah following Jews. That's entry-level knowledge. And how do we know that? You've only got to look at the Quran and find that most of the stories that we mock are actually taken from the Talmud and not from the Bible. He bastardizes the Bible but plagiarizes the Talmud. Even entry-level Quranic understanding will give you that with history.
This is what I found on this. There does not seem to be any strong evidence that the Jews of Western Arabia at the time of the Prophet believed this. And this is a Muslim page, okay? You can see the Prophet, peace be upon him, believed this about Ezra. The problem is that we do not have any external sources, in other words, non-Muslim sources, for what Jews in Arabia believed. And as F.E. Peters observed, the Quran is pretty much the only source we have for what Jews believed in 7th century Arabia. So there's nothing that you can say here about this.
I would challenge that slightly, Stops, only in as much that we can kind of tell what the Jews believe, because the Talmud's inside the Quran. So you're getting an idea
from an Islamic perspective.
Yeah, from an Islamic perspective. So you find
here is seeing there are no texts about Islam, what the Jews believed about Islam.
Oh, sorry, wrong way around. Sorry, I apologize.
And this is what he's saying. And another text that I found, it says, why does the Quran tell us that the Jews claim that Ezra is the son of God when Jews do not make this claim or anything approaching it? This is not a question that arose just recently, and this is the standard apologetics. It's only now that we found this, and nobody's ever questioned it. And this is something that you see, that as early as the 9th century, like over 1,000 years ago, Muslim scholars like were being confronted by Christian opponents who argued, for example, that there's a mistake in the Quran. And we are being told constantly that this is only a new thing. And this is why this is so interesting. It is not. And this is why it's saying it is not a new question at all. Even in the 9th century, the Zaidi Imam and renowned scholar Al-Qasim bin Ibrahim al-Rasi, who died in 860, who had studied Jewish and Christian scriptures in Egypt and who had engaged in debates with priests and rabbis, said he never encountered a Jew who believed Ezra was the son of God. So there's a lot of evidence here that the Quran definitely is wrong. So there is nothing here to substantiate this. And there's definitely nothing that Farid can bring up here with his claim. So this is utter nonsense what he's saying.
Malik bin Sayyif referred to Tafsir al-Tabari.
No credible proof at all shows us any Jewish sect that ever idolized Ezra or thought that he was of any supernatural nature.
Actually, the view that Ezra is the son of God was also held by the Sadducees of Yemen, referred to Ibn Hazm's book on sects.
Muslims try to explain nowadays that some did, but there is no source to that. There is no evidence. And why would we trust Islamic scholars? Islamic scholars try everything to defend Islam. Truth is not their objective. Islam is.
Well, you would trust Islamic sources because they are the ones that documented the beliefs of the Jews of Arabia. Good luck finding documentation of the Jews of Arabia by the Jews of Arabia. But I understand Ridwan's concerns, and we will provide a non-Arabian source. Adam Clarke, in his commentary of Malachi, alluded to an early Jewish belief that Malachi was actually Ezra, who is referred to as an angel. Of course,
Now, okay, look what he's doing here. Some have thought that he was contemporary with Nehemiah, whoever that is, or Nehemiah. Indeed, several have supposed that Malachi is no other than Ezra under the feigned name of Angel of the Lord. Now, how does this in any way substantiate the claim that this is the son of a god?
Let me interject right there. Early Gnostic groups used to interchangeably describe Jesus as an angel of God or the son of God, and I think it wasn't until the I don't know 3rd century that one of the councils of Christian Orthodoxy said you can't refer to Jesus as an angel of God, and you have to refer to Jesus as a son of God. So I think what's being confused in the annals of time is probably Gnostic groups and Jewish groups interchangeably using terminology to describe important people in their text.
Can I challenge that statement?
Yeah.
Okay, well, for starters, if you Google the biblical narrative, Jesus would have been in heaven before he came to earth. That's the biblical narrative, John 3:13. So if people want to accept that Jesus had a pre-earthly existence, then he would have been a spiritual creature in heaven, and spiritual creatures in heaven are referred to as angels. Angels, as a word, merely means messenger. So the context of when he came to earth as the Son of God and an angel actually means, in his identity or persona, means two representations of two roles that he had given one life course. So, well, I say one life course, he's only ever been sort of like either Michael, the archangel in heaven, or Jesus when he came to earth. That's the narrative. So I'm not sure where you're getting this 3rd, 4th century belief system from, because everything I've just said can be found.
This was the Council of Nicaea in 325.
Yeah, but the Jesus being a spirit creature as an angel in heaven, you can see that in just one script I've just pulled off now, John 3:13.
That's another, exactly. That's another story. But
Yeah.
the point here is that it only mentions the name Ezra, and it mentions it as an angel of the Lord. So what you would then say, smart, is if you, for example, take Gabriel, who is an angel of the Lord, should then be the son of a god, but it's not. So the claim, you need to remember the claim. The claim is Ezra is the son of a god. Where does it say this here?
No, I think the claim. Yeah, I understand what I understand what the two Apostate Prophet and Farid are trying to argue against and for. I'm just saying that this terminology used by early Gnostic groups, is probably being conflated with this Jewish group. It could have been like a synergetic group that was part Gnostic, part Jewish, that would attribute to Ezra as an angel of God. Because
where does it say that?
It says that nowhere. I'm just saying from the material that I read.
Exactly.
No, it says that.
That's
it says that nowhere. I'm just saying this angel of God or son of God argument is an old argument, and it could have been a heretical Jewish sect, but we don't have any evidences for that. That's a probable hypothesis. I mean, what's wrong with what I said, really?
It's totally wrong. Come on. It doesn't. It says the Jews. It doesn't say a remote sect somewhere amongst the Jews who only existed for 100 years. It doesn't say that. It says the Jews.
I give you that. I give you that 100%.
And this is the damning thing, because it says the Jews and the Christians. It doesn't make any kind of restriction here. It says the Jews say Ezra is the son of Allah. Is Ezra the son of Allah? Is that what the Jews are saying? No.
No, I'm pretty sure.
No.
I'm pretty sure Christians in Arabic is Masih, and I think what is said in the surah is Nasara, and Nasara is I think a Greek word, Gnostic, Gnosis, an Arabized version of it.
That's possible. But we're talking about the Ezra, and people like Dr. Shabir Ali, for example, he says, well, but we can't be sure because it says Uzair in the original, in the Arabic, it says Uzair, not Ezra. So he is claiming, well, if the cop-out is that we can say that this is not whatever, this is something else. But what Farid is saying, well, here we have evidence that there is a remote sect somewhere which is saying, well, Ezra is a god. And actually, if you go into the text, it doesn't say that. Ezra is only being taken as a worthy prophet. He is the one who interpreted the Torah. That is all that he did. And this is why he is admired, but nobody says that he is the son of God. So this is total nonsense what Farid is giving us here.
As sons of God. Arabic speakers, I strongly suggest checking out Dr. Sami Amri's video on this subject. Next, Ridvan provides his theory as to how the Quran got this allegedly wrong.
That was just a Jewish way of speaking. It didn't mean literally that this person is the offspring of God. Similarly, Jews and many Christians call themselves children of God. It just means they belong to God. Muhammad apparently heard that and didn't even know what Jews mean when they say such thing.
Exactly. And here I agree 100%. This is another misconception by whoever wrote the Quran, that they got things wrong and that this somehow ended up in the Quran because they misunderstood something. And I think this is correct. This is what Thunder was alluding to earlier as well. So
Yeah,
this is exactly.
just on that, just to confirm that, if you go to the book of Proverbs, all the way that God speaks to people when he's addressing people in the book of Proverbs is my son, my son, my son. He's not speaking to angels, he's speaking to human beings. So this is where the confusion lies. But where
exactly.
the Jews took it as an idiom figuratively, whereas the Muslims have taken it literally to try and prove their point.
Now, Pio is a Jew, and he is, and this is his comment that he's sharing with us. No Jew believes in the Son of God. There is no such thing.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
that's how easy it is. So you
Well,
can't go.
that's why they killed Jesus. They considered it blasphemy. We're going out loud.
He just made up his opinion, a wrong opinion, and sold it as Allah's divine message.
Really, Ridvan. Look at this verse. Burn it into your eyes. How do you feel now? Someone that's read the Quran 3 times. For someone that has the biggest ex-Muslim channel on YouTube, you seem to be quite ignorant of the Quran. If only your fans knew. I can't really pity them though. I mean, those delinquents are what made you what you are at the end of the day.
The defense they make is that there were some...
Did anybody understand this? He is pointing to this sentence and is saying, well, you're wrong. And everybody, you have the biggest ex-Muslim channel and blah, 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 and you are so wrong and you are totally ignorant. What makes him ignorant? I don't know. I don't understand him.
Says Jews and Christians say we are the children of Allah and His beloved.
And? That's exactly what Thunder just explained. They consider themselves as children of Allah, but it doesn't say this. He is the offspring, the son of Allah. And this is the whole point that I was making earlier, that if you say, the Jews say, Ezra is the son. The Christians say, is the son. Do the Christians say the Messiah is the son of Allah? Yes. This is the entire belief that the Christian ideology is based on, that the Messiah is the son of Allah. And it's using the same phraseology as the Jews say, Ezra is the son of Allah. And this is why Thunder just explained this, and he says, yeah, they what they do. Where was this? This was here, I think. Yeah. He says the Jews and Christians say we are the children of Allah. This is not the same thing. This is not saying the Messiah is the son of Allah and Ezra is the son of Allah. This is totally different. I don't know. I don't know why. How can anybody be this? I don't know, numb to understand that there is a huge difference between saying this is the one son of Allah and we are all children of God, or all children of Adam, or all children of whatever. That's very different. I mean, what kind of an intelligence level does it take to bring up such a thing and say this is an argument?
Muslim
Apologetics.
intelligence.
I can't. No. But
I
then,
mean, those
and he's
delinquents
arrogant on top of
are
it.
what made you what you are at the end of the day. تفعلك وعليهم.
The defense they make is that there were some Jews in Arabia who apparently worshipped Ezra. But why would the Quran first then talk about Jews collectively?
Well, the
Exactly.
Quran does not actually use the word all, and does not specify an amount or a percentage. However, as Ridvan admitted a little while ago, the Jews did believe that all Jews are the sons of God, including Ezra. Hence, it is incorrect to say that the verse is providing an unfair generalization. Ridwan carries on.
One that I have seen online on a fundamentalist Islamic page is that when this Quran verse was revealed, there was no major reaction among the Jews in Arabia who must have heard of this verse, and therefore the Quran was apparently right. So we know that the statement in this Quran verse is objectively wrong. But because Jews didn't collectively oppose to this statement, the statement becomes right? That's like me saying Allah doesn't exist. If no Muslim comes to me and objects to my statement, it means that it's universally correct that Allah does not exist.
Wah, 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 wah. There's that confidence again, Ridvan. Let me explain something to you. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was the most influential man in Arabia. It was impossible for him to make a false claim, call it revelation, and misattribute it to his foes without being called out for it. It's number one.
They just called him a madman. We've just seen in the ayat tonight, they called him a madman. And several times later on in the Quran, they're going to call him a madman, or they're going to call him the one that has ears. He was accused many times of the very things you're saying by your own sources.
And this is exactly, I was just going to say that, okay, is that what he's propagating?
Also,
Everybody is a son.
can we also bear in mind that Muhammad actually had people that criticized him executed? Can we put that in there as well?
No, but that means, okay, but look at this. Everybody is a son of God. So Muslims now have to agree Jesus is the son of God. And they also need to agree that Muhammad is the son of God. Whoops. Yes, okay, this guy is not so clever.
Now, if you were to make a false claim about a person or a group of people, you would find them responding to you as well due to your popularity and reach. Well, at least while your popularity lasts. A year or two from now, people will stop caring. Your fans will move on to the next ex-Muslim. I mean, think about it.
No, it's because there will be no more Islam if this continues. Because let me tell you, the Apostate Prophet has a huge impact by now. Because of his very straight and direct way. Because he's sitting there in front of the camera and just throwing out fact after fact after fact. So a lot of ex-Muslims are now flocking to his channel because they feel that they are being properly represented there.
You don't really have anything going for you. The only
Facts.
other really active ex-Muslim is this guy. Who the hell would watch his stuff? So I'll give you one thing. Even though you've got the charisma of a female math teacher that makes fart jokes, you're at least not as cringy as he is. So where was I? Oh yeah.
He's got a lot
Give
to
it a
say
year or
for a
two.
little midget who basically can't present a substantial argument. I mean, it's throwing boulders in a glass house, right? And somebody like that wouldn't come on here, right? We'd have him running for the hills. At least Smart Cat comes on, but somebody like Farid wouldn't come on here. He'll sit behind the computer and make asinine statements and not come on here and try to defend it or anything like that. But don't worry, he's not alone. Hamza and the other crew who are doing their own show right now won't come on here either. So maybe apart from Smart Cat, and here's Smart Cat anyway, so he's not being bitten. And he's in the lion's den, so to speak, or maybe the Tyrannosaurus Rex cage. Who knows?
I think that's a very good comment to make, Rob, about Smart Cat. That fair play to him. That there are Muslim personalities out there that simply will not come on shows like this and sit there with impunity trying to propagate their faith. Yet you have someone like Smart Cat on there that probably, and I say this with respect, Smart Cat, that probably doesn't have the knowledge of those guys. Yet with the knowledge that he does have, does come on a show like this. So fair play to you.
True, very true. Yeah. Now,
well, here's the thing. I mean, a lot of things that Muslims believe is like mainstream, right? But the thing is, we have individuals like these Dawah guys, and I don't think they're representative of Islam. I think they're representative of a very dogmatic Islam, so
yeah,
the way that I don't know nothing about Farid, but just watching, this is the first video I watched, and it's very confrontational, right? So it's almost like he has a personal beef with the Apostate Prophet, and I've never watched a single video of Apostate Prophet. But there's obviously Apostate Prophet is saying things that are causing, professional Dawah guys, or at least what I think is a professional Dawah guy, to address it. So I think there's a battle going on between a very dogmatic strain of Islam and, I guess ex-Muslims, and I guess what you guys would call yourselves Islamic critiquists, or I don't know. atheist polemicists. I don't know what to call you guys. But the thing is, I don't see them. Here's the thing: the Dawah guys. The only thing threatening I see from them is that, it's their way or the highway of thinking, and I just fundamentally reject that. No one's going to tell me how to worship my God or read my book. From that perspective, even if you're Muslim. Right. This is like you guys were saying the other day. This is or today we were mentioning it. This is about salvation and damnation. It's very, very important that we reflect upon these things. Right? So I'm not going to surrender my salvation and damnation to somebody just because, he believes in the same things that I believe. Not necessarily everything, but maybe the fundamentals. Right. So when I see people just, essentially subcontracting their thinking faculties out to a person with a beard, I just find that repulsive, me speaking, right? But the thing is, Islamophobes wouldn't want a Muslim on their show, and the only type of Muslim they would want on their show is really, really like an ISIS or a Taliban individual. So they'll be like, look, they're all crazy. That's what Islamophobes want. But like from what I seen, you guys, you welcome anybody. So that's why I say you guys are not Islamophobes and not polemicists. I look at you guys as, hey, we want to look at things very critically. And that's a good thing, because I'll support that. But there's some Dawah guys I wouldn't sit with because they want to shut down critique. So that's my problem, but because like there's some Dawah guys that are very open, they're very tolerant, they will entertain many things, and I think that's the right way to engage with people. Even if you're wrong in some areas, at least you're engaging people in a civilized manner, because I think that's more important than who is right and who is wrong at the end of the day. If we promote a culture, like the whole thing that's going on in Speaker's Corner, I find it really strange, because I live in the West, but I don't live in the UK. And that to me is very strange what I see. Like, I think if we seen that stuff in my home country, we would be like, what's going on? You know, like, but that's a whole, I guess that's why you guys are doing what you're doing, because you probably experience it on a daily basis, you know, but power to everybody, man. Power to everybody. I wish everybody success.
Good rant. Good rant. Very nice. Okay, let me just look at then, what does this Abdullah Samir, which he's been joking about, does he say I don't know, doesn't matter. Now, what Abdullah says is Allah the Exalted encourages the believers to fight polytheists, disbelieving Jews and Christians, who uttered this terrible statement and utter lies against Allah the Exalted. As for the Jews, they claim that Uzair was the son of God. Allah is free of what they attribute to him. And then he says the Quran commits another blunder here by comparing the Jews calling Uzair the son of God to the literal divinity of Jesus being the son of God. And this makes it difficult for Muslims to claim Uzair being the son of God as a metaphor. And there is not a Jew on this earth that claims Uzair is the son of God. It's not a central tenet or even a tenet of Judaism. No Jew alive has even heard this claim. So the Quranic claim that Jews consider Ezra the son of God is unattested either in Jewish or other extra Quranic sources, and it is improbable that the Jews of Arabia believed so. Let's assume the Jews of Arabia in Muhammad's are believed. Let's assume Jews are believed this. Let's assume the Jews of Arabia Muhammad's are believed. Okay, no. Why did Allah use the definite article al-Yahud? So this is what
Can I just jump in for 1 second? Can I just jump in for 1 second?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Okay, so
Thunder, can you just mute, because there's a lot of disturbance coming from you. Sorry about that. Thank you.
No problem. Was that coming from me?
No, from Thunder.
Okay. Jews do refer to Ezra as son of God as a title?
Where? How? Where
No.
is this? Where'd you get this?
No, I'm just saying, don't Jews refer to Ezra or other prophets or Malachi, son of God,
No.
as an honorific title? They have never used son of God as an honorific title for any of their prophets?
No.
But they've used it for themselves, regular Jews that worship God. We are the children of God.
No, Ezra is just a guy who interpreted the Torah. There's nothing special about him. He's just somebody who is seen as a scholar of Judaism.
Okay, no problem. But I'm just saying, like Jews, they do not use son of God as an honorific title, like how Muslims use the Lion of God as an honorific title, or the Sword of God as an honorific title. They don't.
They don't.
Okay.
And let me put in the chat the reference in case somebody wants to look this up. I'm putting two things in. One is the Madina Institute, which is a blog which talks about the Quran, the Jews, and Ezra. And then one of the references by Viviane Comerro and Esdras, Esdras, which is Ezra. Est-il le fils de Dieu? Fils is son, and the Dieu is of God. So is he the son of God? And she's like writing an essay about this. And there's the reference that you can look this up if you want to. Okay, and now we have run out of things to do. Should we do another video? Or does anybody want to comment on the Ezra thing? No comments.
Is Rob still on?
Yeah.
Do we?
Sorry,
how
I'm
long
here.
do you guys want the show to go on? How long? Another 30 minutes?
Another 30 minutes.
Is that how long you guys want it to go on?
Yep.
Yeah, we normally finish around 10.
Okay, fine. Do we have time to explore the free will subject?
We can do that.
I'm up for it. If
Because I have another
Stops is up for it.
video, which is Farid, another video by Farid, where he criticizes Abdullah Gondar. Or we can talk about free will.
Do you have a video about free will and determinism?
We don't
I
have
would
one
to
up.
ask Rob
I mean,
that.
there's plenty
I've
out
got
there on the
plenty,
internet.
but not ready.
I guess the question for you is Smart Cat is like, if you believe determinism is true, well, then we don't have free will in any libertarian sense. Then, whatever the previous cause was of whatever the previous effect was, going all the way back, we are unable to make a free choice about that, in which case, then God's plan is set for action, and then you don't have a will that you can do otherwise. You only think you do because you are not omnipotent or omniscient. So, and if that's the case, and if you accept that, that means that you are being judged based on what God already knows you're going to do, and there's nothing you can do about it, and that would make him unjust, and therefore he would not exist. If one of his attributes is either perfect or most just, then a God with that attribute does not exist, and therefore
Okay,
Allah is not true, and you shouldn't be a Muslim. That's the ultimate
I would accept that.
point.
I would accept that if we lived in an eternal universe.
What difference would that make?
Because you're saying there is no cause and effect. That means we live in an eternal universe. We live in a
No,
material.
I'm saying there is a cause and effect, and we are unable to escape it. And you seem to agree because you agreed that determinism was true.
When I say free will, I don't mean absolute free will.
I mean, look, you can go the compatibilist route, right? You can say, hey, whatever's self-generated, comes from within the self. If there's no external causes that are pushing in one direction or the other, that's free. I think that's a redefinition of what it means to have libertarian free will. I'm not sure you'd want to go there, but even if you went there, that still wouldn't help you, because either random events are happening or a past event is acting on you in a way that you are unaware of. But either way, you don't actually have the ability that the Quran claims you do to make a free choice, i.e. that you are not encumbered by some other previous event or some random event. And if that's the case, well, then the Quran is false, and Allah, or Allah is not most just.
Okay, I just wanna stay on free will just for a minute, and then we can jump to the Quran. I just wanted to say, for how I look at it, I already have evidence that I have a limited free will based on multiple factors. I react to my environment. I didn't choose who I was born, or how I look like, or male or female. So there's many factors that I did not determine myself. I came into existence, quote unquote, came into existence with a whole bunch of factors that I had no control over. So just saying that, I can tell you, well, it cannot be absolute free will, because if it was absolute free will, I should have an ability to affect these things that I didn't choose. You know what I'm saying? So there's evidence that we don't have absolute free will by the mere point that we were born in circumstances we didn't choose. So, but what I do say we have free will in is, that's why I was saying it's more determinism than absolute free will, is that we have day-to-day decisions that we make, and our environment still contributes on what we can do. So, for example, a person living in the desert, because of his environment, he has to think about water and shade, versus a person living in an urban environment where he has to worry about employment and education, right? So we have a lot of things that are exercising their influence on us. So, right away, I'll say there isn't absolute free will, but more close to maybe determinism and occasionalism.
Okay, I just want to check in with you. Let me just ask you, do you think, like the statement you just made was from a prior cause that you're unaware of, or do you think that the statement you just uttered was your free choice?
I would say it has to be both. Because my upbringing and my educational path and the decisions that I made in my life in the past has brought me to this point. But I was an active participant. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't an inactive participant. If I recollect on my life, I was an active participant in a reactionary sense to my environment.
Yeah, but then all you're saying is you're like Terminator. You've been given a programming and you're following the programming. You just don't know exactly where the programming is leading you, but the programmer knows exactly where it's leading you. So it's just your ignorance that gives you the sense of an illusion of free will, but actually there's a program running that you cannot override. That program is instilled in you as it is in Thunderous, myself, or Stops, in whatever way, and that program is operational, and you can't upgrade it, you can't downgrade it, and whatever happens seemingly, you think that you're doing something to influence it, but actually it's the program running. And that's especially true if the programmer knows the entire program and, in fact, the course of your entire life.
Okay, so that would only, for me, that would make sense, and that would be true if somebody can prove to me that we live in a eternal universe that does not have a beginning and does not have an end, an infinite eternal universe.
Guys, can I just ask for an example? If you see a red light, can you decide to go through it or not?
Of course I can decide to go through it or not.
Okay.
Do I want to
know that you are going to
go
through this? Does your God know that you're going to go through this red light?
Yeah, he knows if I go through it or I don't go through it. He knows all outcomes of reality.
Can you change your mind?
Yeah, I can change my mind, but he knows the outcomes of all things.
There you have it. End. That's the end.
Okay, that's the end.
Yeah, so you're satisfied now that you don't have a free will and that you're a puppet on strings. You just don't know that the strings are being pulled invisibly.
Well, I think you make that claim. I don't think.
Well, I think it's leading to it deductively. It's just a deductive argument that leads you there, unless you have some other way, and even occasionalism doesn't appear to get you out of that. So ultimately, if God has got the plan fixed firmly, or has got a firm plan, as it said in the verse we just read, then that would suggest that plan is the case, and you are not able to vary from that plan. If that's the case, then you're a robot on strings. And it's just the fact that you don't know that you're on strings that gives you an illusion that you actually got some freedom, and in fact you don't. You're on a set path, and it says that multiple times. I mean, that's just one verse in the Quran.
Oh no, there's
You've gone very soft. I don't know if you've changed your mic or something. It's like you've now sitting on the other side of the room.
No, like I said earlier, that perspective would look, and I would agree with that perspective.
Smart. You're covering the microphone.
Can you hear me now?
No, you're
No,
covering
just
the
as bad.
microphone with something.
How about now?
No, something's
It's
happened.
still like talking out of a tin.
It's just very soft as well, so the audience won't be able to hear. Okay, he's going to rejoin.
So I don't know. It's a pity, because if it's a very easy example that I've given, and he's admitted that he cannot change his mind without his God knowing it. So that's actually the end of the argument. So if you cannot change your mind whether you can go through a red traffic light, then if your God already knows it, you don't have any degree of free will. It doesn't. You can't call it a non-absolute or not all free, and whether it depends on whether they're in universe. No, it's just you don't. Finished.
Okay, if you can explain to me why free will needs to exist in a reality where God is not all knowing, if you can explain that to me, I'll consider it.
I can do that.
You're being tested against something which the outcome is already known. And the outcome is not only known now, it has been known all along. It has been known even before you were created. So there is no test here if the outcome has been known before you were created. That's how easy it is.
Can I just add on that? Because this is the same God claiming to be the same God of Abraham, David, and such. That in the book of Genesis, you get to a verse, Genesis 1:30 or 32 says, "Look, everything was very good," meaning that no matter however things were going to turn out, it was, there was no flaw in creation, meaning that God did not know Adam and Eve were going to sin. So you have to ask Allah from this point of view, did he know Adam and Eve were going to sin in heaven? Because that's not the same God as what we find in the Genesis account. Then also the point of the tree in the Garden of Eden was a representation of law. and also a demonstration of free will, because that's the ultimate paradox. Without law, you don't have free will. Without free will, you don't have law. One defines the other. So I don't understand that in an Islamic point of view there, because what's the whole point of law if you don't have free will? The whole point of law is the demonstration of free will. Then when you go through the biblical narrative, you find certain accounts where God did not know what the actions of human beings were. That's easily demonstratable in text. So I don't find how Islam can reconcile itself with free will and law, and I don't see how Allah can reconcile if he's the same God as the one that's been pre-written by Jews and Christians.
Yeah, like I was saying, the thing about the tree, I'm familiar with it, original sin, and I don't want to comment on that, but I'm familiar with what you're trying to say. The thing is, I don't have a problem with absolute free will if it's proven. Sorry, I don't have a problem with free will if it's sorry, not free will. What was Rob saying? We were robots, pre-programmed robots. I don't have a problem with that position if somebody can prove to me 100% that we're in a universe that has no beginning and no end. That would make sense to me. That type of determinism or that free will outlook would make sense in a material universe with no beginning and end, because that would reflect. But the way I look at it is, in a Big Bang universe or a created universe, and having a programmed destiny, you know what I'm trying to say, based on cause and effect.
No. Why are you making the distinction between the type of universe that you're in? The free will is the same.
No, I think they're related, or they're codependent. You can't have both of them.
So
you can't have.
If there's an eternal universe, you can go through a red light, and this is not free will.
No, I'm saying if we have an eternal universe, then it makes sense to be a program in a robot, a programmed robot like that.
So what you're saying is the Quran no longer applies if it's an eternal universe.
No, I'm not saying that. You said that, but I'm just saying that the whole concept of free will is complicated, but the way that you guys are explaining it is not the same way that I look at it.
That's because it's not complicated. Okay, I don't think we're getting anywhere with this. Rob, do you want to add something to this? Because I don't see this free will thing as making any sense. Because Thunder has said, if you are living according to the rules in the Quran, then you should have free will, but you don't. So there's an internal contradiction here, because the Quran says you're being tested, that life is a test. You're supposed to be worshipping. But on the other hand, it says the plan of Allah is firm, and he has already established everything, and he is the knower of everything. And if you add all that up, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up as zero.
On my channel, I've uploaded Asim Al-Hakim actually talking about free will. He has an interesting answer. And Asim Al-Hakim is a scholar for $1 that features regularly on Zakir Naik's Peace TV. So it's not just people listening to YouTube that have this opinion that everything is preordained, foreordained. We've spoke about this several times in the past. Particularly, I seem to recall bringing up several times about chapter 2, whether they went to war or not. It didn't matter, make a difference if they went to war or stayed behind, because their fate would have been the same. If they were going to die, they were going to die anyway. Then you have the angel of death taking people when Allah says it's time for them to die. Then you have the coitus interruptus situation where It didn't matter if they ejaculated on the ground or whether ejaculated inside the woman. It would have been preordained whether that child would have been conceived in that moment or not. There are too many texts in the Quran and Hadith that show, from an Islamic point of view, everything is preordained by Allah, which contradicts exactly the whole point of obeying the law of Allah, because it's either preordained that you will or won't. So what's the point of the law?
Thunderous, what is the name of your channel?
Thunderous One. It's actually just Thunderous One.
Because there was a question how people can find you. Okay,
So I've started doing
else or hang on, Smart. If I ask you, like we saw today, that Allah will lead and guide some people, but not others. And if this Creator God already knows in advance who is being led and who is not, because he is the knower of all things, can this God then in any way punish somebody if they exercise their free will?
Can God punish people who have free will? Or that's the whole thing that I'm trying to figure out. Can God punish people who have free will, or he cannot punish people that don't have free will? So you just have to
given that the knowledge is there.
Pardon me?
Given that the knowledge is there in advance.
I just don't see why God can't punish somebody whether they have free will or not free will.
Okay, if God knows that I am going to, I don't know, have two gods, creates me anyway. So this Creator God knows I'm going to have two gods while creating me, and knows this even before it creates me, but now goes ahead and creates me anyway, knowing that I will have two gods. Why would this God, knowing that I will have two gods, still go ahead and create me?
But he still has the ability to create you. It doesn't mean...
Yes, but why does this Creator God do this?
So I can't really speak on why he does it, but I think I know where you're trying to go. If he does create you, then he's an unjust, cruel God. This is what you're trying to say, right?
Correct.
Based on the ability that he knows the outcome of all your decisions, right?
Correct.
And how can a God do such a thing that is all merciful and all caring, right?
Correct.
Like when I say it this way, I see the problem you guys see 100%. I'm just saying,
exactly the point, because I don't have the free will if God already knows the outcome. If this God knows that I'm going to have two gods, that I'm going to be worshipping two gods, then it's going to create me and it has to punish me at the end of my life. It must. There is no other chance than to punish me. Now, if I have free will, I could change my mind. This is why I asked you, can you change your mind? If I can change my mind, I can then become a Muslim, and then the chances are much better that I will not be punished. But I cannot change my mind.
but even if you do change your mind, God knows the outcome that you are about to change your mind, right?
But then the premise number one is gone.
Yeah. So the problem you are bringing up is, how can I change my mind in a universe where God knows all the outcome? That means I don't have free will. That's evidence against me having free will, so therefore I shouldn't be punished even if I do the right or wrong thing. I shouldn't be rewarded for doing the right thing, and I shouldn't be punished for doing the wrong thing. This is what you're saying to me.
Yep, that's what I'm saying to you.
So we live in a reality that's amoral, subjective morality at best.
If we take on board that this is based on a Creator God as described in Islam, yes.
So within the realm of religion, within the realm of a creator God, there is no morality. This is the argument.
No, that's not the argument. Morality is just a code of conduct that people agree on. That has nothing to do with morality.
No, but that's what I'm saying. If we keep going down this path, then we live in a reality that's amoral, at worst, at best, a subjective morality. So this is
amoral means there is no morality.
yeah, I know. So subjective,
and that's exactly
or
it.
amoral?
There is no morality because there is no way that you can do anything. There's no way that you can judge anything. It's just a sheer running of a program, exactly what Rob has outlined as a definition.
So when we enter the realm of existence through a all-knowing, all-just, all-omnipotent God, we enter a reality where there's essentially no morality, no right or wrong.
Not reality. No, this is not reality. It can't be, because you're contradicting it.
Wait. Am I?
Yes.
Well, we just agreed that God cannot punish somebody that he has
but
created.
you can't have a merciful and just God at the same time. You cannot have an all-knowing and testing God at the same time. So the various attributes of this God don't work together from a logical point of view. They are contradictions.
But I'm just saying, if we conclude that, for example, if we make statements and we accept them to be true, for example, in a universe where there's an all-knowing, all-just, all-omnipotent God that knows your decisions, then in reality we live in an amoral existence.
No, it is not an existence.
There is no right or wrong. Huh?
There is no existence. This cannot exist. It is surreal. Okay, just look at the one. What is omnipotent?
All-knowing.
No, omnipotent is being able to do everything.
All-knowing, all-present, right?
No, omnipotent means you can do everything. Potent is from Latin that you can do something. So omnipotent means able to do everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is omnipotent. Yeah.
Is the God in Islam able to do everything?
Well, that's another claim. He's able to do everything. He knows everything.
Okay. Can he have a son?
Beat me to it.
Sorry, what was the question, Stops?
Can this God in Islam have a son?
Yeah, if he will. Yeah, sure.
That's not what it says in the Quran. And the Quran says he cannot have a son unless he has a partner.
But no.
Oops. Do you see the problem? Smart Cat, are you still there? Or did you just faint? I think he just fainted.
Unless there's a connection issue.
Unless it's a connection issue.
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, now you're back, yes.
Okay. No, I said I don't have a problem with an omnipotent God. He can do anything.
But he cannot have a son.
Well, isn't that a contradiction if he can't have a son?
Correct.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do about it?
He can't have a son.
No, he can't, because the Quran says he can't have a son without a partner.
Yeah, but in theory he can have a son and he can have a partner.
No, he can't. In theory he cannot have a son, because in theory, in practice, in anything, he cannot have a son without a partner. That's what it says in the Quran.
Well, yeah, if he does have a son, then there's more than one God, right?
Well, it just says that he cannot have a son.
I don't think it's can't in the sense of limitation, like this is the rules God can't break.
Exactly the limitation. That's exactly what it says in the Quran.
I know that's what it says in the Quran, but I'm not saying it's a limitation on him.
Yes, it is.
I'm not saying it's a limitation on him. It's not. I can't limit God. If God wants to have a son, theoretically he can. with or without a partner. Isn't that more omnipotent? Isn't that more omnipotent? Yeah, I know the Quran says you can't have a son without a partner, but I don't see the contradiction with me trying to say that God is all knowing, all just.
There's lots of arguments. It's like, can he construct something that is indestructible?
Sure.
So he cannot destroy it.
No, well, yeah, I see what you're saying right there, but he has to be able to do it.
No,
you know,
if
you're going to claim he's omnipotent, right?
I just said if he is able to construct something that he cannot destroy, then
I understand that. Yes, I understand that. If he constructs, I understand that. Yeah. Yeah, I understand that. It's funny to me as well, you know, but he has to as well.
Yeah, but that's why it doesn't work. That's why the claim of omnipotence does not work. You cannot make that claim. This does not exist.
But if somebody does make that claim, that means he's able to do anything, right?
Yeah, but he can't.
That's what
I've
I
just shown
understand.
you that it's impossible. Now, I've shown you in theory that it's impossible using an example. I've shown you in principle, in practice, that it says in the Quran that he is not omnipotent. So you cannot use omnipotent. It is out of the window. It's gone. It's dead. You can't use it.
You see, Smart Cat, I think the big thing is I had to deal with something, but I was listening in. Once we go to the Quran, you're in big trouble. You could make philosophical arguments, but if they're going to contradict the Quran, then you're in big trouble. Which is why Stops and I and Thunders like to point to the Quran, because we can talk about the philosophical arguments, but if they're not tied to something, then you can make any kind of argument. You could claim he has middle knowledge. You can make some other Christian claim, but you can't do that, especially if the Quran makes a very clear, seemingly clear statement, and that's the problem with. Once we go to the Quran, which is why I think that that's the best evidence, or at least one of the best evidences against Allah existing is that book. Forget any other claims or about Muhammad or whatever the case is. So, and I think that's what Pops has said to you. So it's very difficult to do it. And the same thing with him being, there's a contradiction between him being most merciful and most just. Those two attributes cannot simultaneously be in operation unless you're okay with contradictions, which I hope you're not.
I can deal with contradictions. It's not like it's the end of the world, but from my end, I just have to do more studying and more research to understand the nuances in these arguments. But it doesn't necessarily, for me at least, say that I'm wrong. It just says that I'm ignorant.
Yeah, I think you can always go with that. And I mean, you're welcome to bring things that we can have a more nuanced discussion, because you are somebody who's capable of reading up and coming with different arguments. And that for us is of interest. If you come back and say, hey, Ibn Taymiyyah said this, or somebody said that, or whatever, and you put forward the argument, because it's no good appealing to somebody if you don't know what they actually say or why they say it. That's the important bit. Then we can have that discussion. But I think that's always. And I guess the question for you, which is what we asked at the beginning, is like, what would need to be the case for you to accept that, hang on a moment, there's a problem here, what would it take for you to not be a Muslim, I guess? As in, what reasons or evidence would need to be the case for you to reject the Quran as being an authoritative source from an all-knowing God?
That's an interesting question. I mean, I never asked God to prove his existence, so I never asked. I never asked anybody to prove God's existence, because anyways, this is more in the realm of spirituality, but leave it to the side.
Okay.
I wouldn't demand evidence for God's existence or non-existence.
All right, let's leave it there.
Okay.
I think you've got a little bit to think about, and that's it. That's more than we can expect.
Yeah, we can carry on next week, and we have so have a look and see what you come up with, and we can resume next week, and
and you can
have a little read,
bring it up again. Yeah,
discuss. This is, I think, the sort of discussion we'd like to have. Now, if
Yeah.
you ask me, I would, and we can do it next week. You can ask me what evidence or reasons would I have to accept Islam, and I could provide you for some. So I think have a think about what would it take for you to reject this. What would need to be the case where you go, no, this cannot be the case. And bear in mind, millions and seemingly more and more millions of Muslims are deconverting. So it's obviously either they are finding good reasons or it's all emotional. And I don't believe that all of them are leaving for emotional reasons. So maybe there is something that's you're overlooking, and you could, put the same claim to us. Maybe there's something we're overlooking. So maybe we'll pick it up again next week and see where we're at.
Yeah, no problem. We can pick it up next week. I got to go back to work right now. It's 2:00, and very enlightening conversation. And I look forward to next week to talk about, I guess, the challenge that Rob put up on me. And I'll contact you again.
Okay, super. Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us, Mike. Been a pleasure again.
Thank
Well,
you,
we're going
gentlemen.
to end because I'm just going to end with the Hadith of the week. And this is the next one on the list. So I'm just going to use it, even though it's a well-known one and we've talked about it many times, but I'm just going to go through the list. And this is in Bukhari 1, Book 5, number 277, and it's by our good friend Abu Huraira. And the Prophet said that Bani Israel used to take a bath naked, looking at each other. The Prophet Moses used to take a bath alone. And they said, by Allah, nothing prevents Moses from taking a bath with us, except that maybe he has a scrotal hernia. So once Moses went out to take a bath and put his clothes over a stone, and then that stone ran away with his clothes. Moses followed that stone, saying, my clothes, O stone, my clothes, O stone, till the people of Bani Israel saw him and said, by Allah, Moses has got no defect in his body. Moses then took his clothes and began to beat the stone. And Abu Huraira then added, by Allah, there are still 6 or 7 marks present on the stone from that excessive beating.
I don't know. That kind of sounds like a dream.
Yeah, probably. A bad dream, a nightmare. Imagine coming out of the water and the stone is running away with your clothes. That's not a good news.
Yeah. Like that sounds like a dream to me. Nightmare.
I look at that and I think to myself, what was going on in Muhammad's life that he felt to have a belief like that? Because something must have been going on where he had to, in that moment, had to put Moses in the same position he was in order to justify his situation at that time. This was Muhammad again molding Moses in his image. So something must have been going on there.
So this is quite weird.
I like
ladies and
I like the Hadith of the week last week. The camel drinking. The camel urine.
Yes,
That was way better.
That was terrible. Okay, ladies and gents, we've come to the end of this week's Friday edition of Gin and Tonic Show. I hope you liked it. If you did, give us a thumbs up. If you don't, give us a thumbs down. That's no problem. And if you can, please come back next week and tell us what we can do better. Otherwise, we shall see you next week. And if you still want to talk a bit about Islam, but you don't want to do it here on the panel, which is being recorded live, but you want to come to the Discord server, just start Discord and it will download a little app on your computer. You can start it, go to the Gin and Tonic Show, click on the voice after show, and then you can join us there and chat about Islam. And this is not recorded. So that's it for me. Thank you very much to the chat. Thank you, people, for being there. Thank you to all the people who have been watching live, who have commented, who've asked questions and made suggestions. Thank you very much for that. Thank you to the panel. Thank you to SmartCat for joining us. And I appreciate this highly because I know that it's not easy for a Muslim to come on an atheist panel, especially if everybody says we are Islamophobes and haters and racists and things like that. Thank you to Thunderous and Rob, and thank you. See you again next Friday.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Good night.